This is a Mortarbox Media podcast. For more podcasts and to learn how we can help you create your own, visit mortarboxmedia.com.
Hello and welcome to Women AF Podcast, a podcast hosted by three friends who are celebrating 50 episodes. Yay!
We made it!
Yeah, we did. I am joined today by Nicole.
That's me.
And Carrie.
Hello.
And I'm Danny. You know, I didn't say that earlier. But if you're 50 episodes in, you might already know. If you're brand new, welcome, and feel free to celebrate with us even though you're brand new. What's everyone drinking? Let's just start there.
Celebratory rum and coke right here.
Yes, that's me too.
Me too.
Yay! Cheers, guys.
Oh,
And
clink.
Adam's drinking his guitar. You will see if you're watching our Patreon video, patreon.com/womenaf podcast.
Yeah.
We're still trying to convince Carrie to post her Christmas cookies nudie picture on our for the highest paid tier.
Yeah.
We haven't been successful yet, but
No, well, let's see how much money we can get. Let's see how much will people offer to see that. I feel like it's not a lot. So
I feel like it's illegal. Is it illegal?
maybe.
I feel like that's
well,
illegal.
no, because you're covered. Like she has cookies in the way.
Totally covered.
I mean, it would be like if she were wearing a Christmas cookie bikini, theoretically.
Or tassels.
Cookie tassels.
Yes.
A traditional family recipe passed down for generations. Christmas tassels.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
So, how's everyone's week going?
Great. Fine. Normal. Great. Fine. Normal.
Normal with
Yeah.
quotes, right?
Yeah. Normal. Like just, at home a lot and stuff.
Not going anywhere, not doing anything.
Right. Well, actually,
There.
I left the house.
What?
Yes, I know. Now, this isn't like a typical pandemic activity, but last weekend I spent with two girlfriends at a spa.
No way.
What?
Yeah. Which actually turns out to be kind of a good pandemic activity because you can kind of just stay in your room if you have a really nice room with a hot tub.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
if you go out and about, like you can just sort of go where the people aren't, and if there's a lot of people, you go somewhere else, and it was really relaxing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I recommend it. I recommend pandemic spotting.
Pandemic spying.
Yeah,
With friends.
Pandemic
friends
spying.
that you haven't seen in a while. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that sounds
I just
amazing.
felt really strongly like we needed to get out, and we all felt like we were pretty safe about, just general, and felt like it was okay, and we did it.
Yeah.
It happened. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. I feel good about it.
Good job.
I'm jealous. Good job. Well, on the flip side, we had our first exposure to somebody who tested positive for COVID.
It happens to everybody
Oh.
at some point. Ugh.
It's taken 9 months.
You've done great.
So we've officially made it. We've,
I'm
climbed
impressed.
up in that pandemic ladder. And so now we are going under like a lockdown. So that's going to be fun. It's day 2 today. And I only screamed like a million times. So that's fine. I've said the words, no, calm down a million times.
Were you talking to yourself?
Kind of.
Calm down.
Calm down. Half and half. That was more in my head, like, calm down, Nicole. And
Yeah,
out
yeah.
loud, I was like, but, yeah, so that's kind of it.
So you are at home now with two children, work,
Yes. and spouse that works.
Yeah. That's
And school.
it's a dangerous
That's
situation
terrible.
right there. Yeah.
It's
I'm sure it's
fun.
been a long week.
It's been a long 2 days. It's only been
Oh, it's only been 2 days.
I got a whole week left.
You will make it. You can do this. I know.
And it's not I say this complainy, but I shouldn't complain. We were going to drop the kids off this weekend at my in-laws to have like a date night.
Oh no.
And it was going to be amazing and it was going to be fantastic.
Oh no, the timing. Ouch. I'm sorry.
That sounds like it would have been wonderful.
And we got new board games. Like, it was perfect.
Oh.
But
Okay, you just put it off. You put it off for another week or two.
right. It's fine.
And
it's
make it even bigger when it happens. Like, treat yourself to something extra special, you know?
Go to Paris.
Go to Paris.
that is extra. You're right.
Yeah.
For one day. The flights are real cheap right now.
Flight there, flight back, done.
Just keep your eyes on that prize. You'll get there.
If
You'll
you
get there.
afford to just go to Paris on a whim, then enough. First,
This is true.
what I wanted to say during the BS time.
Tell us.
I told you guys I have news, and I wasn't going to say too much earlier, and we started to talk about this before we recorded. I said, you know what, I think maybe the 50th episode is a good time to make this announcement. And so I just need to tell you guys that my A1C is still 5.0 after 6 months of
That's
eating
awesome.
fruit and like being super concerned that I was going to be like up in the 7 or 8s.
Ooh.
But no,
That's where you wanted it. I don't know the numbers, but that's where you wanted it.
That's awesome.
which it is at 5, which is great. So
Yay!
I had my 1 year labs. I have my 1 year doctor appointment on the 16th, which is why I can't work because I'm partying all of the 16th for celebrating 1 year of diabetes. But yeah, so I had my labs yesterday, and for real, like I've eaten nothing but fruit and cheese for the last 6 months, and I was like, I know that my A1C is fucked, and turns out that nope, it's not, still really good, and I'm super happy. So.
And that's because
Yay.
you've been working your butt off and taking care of yourself.
Been trying.
Yeah.
Been trying. One of my healthiest friends I've known. It's one of my friends that I've known my whole life, and I have always considered healthy. The healthiest person I know works at a health club here in town. He told me today that he had a physical yesterday, and he's got high cholesterol, hypertension, and an A1C of 5.4. And I was like, I'm healthier than you. This thing ever.
I hope you rubbed it in.
I didn't, because he was super bummed. He was like,
Oh.
I have to get healthy. And I was like, well, you can do it, man. Like, I'm like, obviously, like, look at me. Like, apparently you can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. But it was one of those things where you have this idea of who you are. And like, even when you go through this big change, it's been 30 years of me thinking I was who I was. So then him telling me that and me realizing that I'm healthier than him was just like, whoop, like it suddenly made sense of like, oh, I'm not, the image that I have of me is not, that's not me anymore. So I'm working really hard to like get rid of that image of myself and like believe in the person I am now. So
That's awesome.
Good job.
Yay!
But yeah, anyway, you guys were with me the day I found out about my diabetes, and I wanted you guys to know that I am so grateful for this and for the friendships that I've gained through all of you, or with all of you through this. But I wanted you guys to be among the first to know that I'm still kicking ass. And
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, we're super proud of you.
Yeah, we are. We actually all had talked about dedicating our daily workouts on the 16th to you.
that's really what I want people to do. I made a Facebook
Yep.
about it. So
Yep, I am going to plan a goal to set that day 2. You mentioned set a new goal. I have a couple in mind, so I'm going to figure that out, and that will be in your honor.
Well, my goal.
I like it.
I already know it. My goal for 2021 is to have some muscle definition. I haven't defined it. Like, do I just want some do I want to see at least one ab? You know.
I don't think they show up in ones.
Right now, it is just one, right?
Yeah.
Carrie, I'm working on my self-image, and right now I think I could only get one. So, I got skinny this year, and I'm just like, all right, what would I look like? I know what I look like skinny, but now what would I look like just like fucking cut? So,
that's fun. I think that's super fun.
I think that is fun.
Anyway, I'll stop taking up your BS time.
Congrats, sir.
Yeah,
Congrats. That is so exciting. Well, that was a really fun thing to bring us into the 50th episode, because it has been quite a journey. This whole year has been quite a journey.
I'd say.
The podcast, I don't think, could have started at a more interesting time, in the sense that, in the last year, we've pretty much just documented our week by week adventures through a pandemic.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty interesting and will be interesting to look back on. So now let's get into reminiscing about the last 50 episodes. I think that this will be really fun. And actually, going off of what Adam just talked about, Nicole had a fun question of what was everyone's first impression of Adam. I'm going to exempt myself from this question. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
I think that you should not exempt yourself, because, yeah, you knew me as one thing for a long time.
Yeah.
And then, we haven't spoken really in...
Sure.
So then this idea of who I was to you really probably dates back to, when you were in 7th grade, because that's when we were the most in each other's lives, because you and my sister were good friends.
Right, right.
But I'd like to know what your first impression was. But are we talking about from when we first started actually recording, or are you talking about the coffee shop?
I would say all of it.
Yeah, just general first impressions.
And Adam, if you want to jump in and say your first impressions, you certainly can too.
Okay. I'll leave myself unmuted then.
Oh,
Right.
Well, Nicole, this was your question, so I think you should go first.
Ooh, okay. So I would probably say, let me start with coffee shop Adam, where we met prior to recording as hey, can we do this? Does this make sense? And the first thing I realized about Adam was he's a no bullshit dude. I remember going through and doing my fluff of here's our branding, here's our la 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 stuff, and you're I don't fucking care. Show me what is the meaning of this. And I'm oh, that's what I remember that so distinctly and being yes, okay, to the point, no bullshit, let's go. That was really helpful.
Same. Just the most straightforward, but with a total sense of humor, but the driest sense of humor and the most sarcastic sense of humor. You kind of have to get on board right away and be okay, this is what we're doing. I can do this, right?
And not only on board in the moment of what I'm talking about, but you have to decide in the moment, are you on board with who I am as a person?
That is what I meant.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, because it I'm sure there are people in my life who could have been great friends had they gotten on board right away. But it's not lukewarm. It's either you got to decide right then. Are you with me? Are we going on this journey, or are you gonna hate everything about me?
It's totally true, because you're gonna just be so I don't know what's the word, blunt and sarcastic, and you're not gonna hesitate to just kind of rip on someone,
I wouldn't. What I've always, so that's gotten me in trouble a lot my whole life.
I believe it.
Listen, if I didn't like you, I wouldn't talk to you. The fact that I am giving you shit means that I genuinely like you. Even more than that, it means I respect you because I think you can take it.
Yeah, and I think I picked up on that right away. It's like, okay, we're gonna roll with this because this is like, I think he means it like all in like fun, right, and respect. Yeah,
and even it's in fun, but like even when it's like to communicate something that I actually am like, hey, this has got to stop.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even then, that's out of respect because it's still somebody who respects you enough to say, hey, like some people say that by sitting down and going, hey, could I talk to you about something? But to me, that's boring. Like that's so like it's so fun and it's nerve wracking. Why not just make a joke out of it that gets across that, hey, I'm not really mad, but like, hey, like let's fucking go here.
Yeah. There's like a balance of like, okay, you got to keep in mind he's not actually mad, but he means it. It's like a weird like balance.
It took me a long time to figure out that balance. 100% honesty, Adam.
No, yeah.
I did not like you in the beginning. 100% honest.
I was about to say, so the first impression, so I said you were either on board or not on board right away, and I was about to say I'm pretty sure that Nicole had made her decision not being on board within 30 seconds of meeting me, but then she was forced. So I said I could be good friends with somebody if we had that time. Nicole was forced to have that time to act.
Yes.
I think what it did is like I had to rethink about our relationship and less about being a friend and more about like you're that older brother who's going to give you the honest answer. And then that's when I like it switched and I'm like, yeah, you're like that makes sense. He gives you shit. He makes you like stand up for yourself, but then also he challenges you. I'm like, that's the older brother. That's how I view you now, as that figure.
Also, there's also the fact that if he sees that he may be pushed a little too hard, he will like be like, okay, wait, like I'm like, you didn't like that. Let's talk about why, right? Like this has happened, right?
Oh yeah,
Nicole.
Yeah.
And you guys kind of like have hashed things out.
Yeah,
because your feathers got ruffled.
Yeah, that happened.
You know.
I mean,
yeah,
a couple times, just
up until that moment that I came back the next week and said, hey, let's talk that over.
I like that. Like you're just like you're aware of
Listen, I don't want to. I would rather have those uncomfortable conversations when you have to, when feathers have been ruffled, and it's like, okay, well now we have. But before that, it's like, all right, like let's just joke around. Like, why life is great, especially this year. That's how I feel. Life is great, so like let's not have these serious conversations, and then that gets me in trouble, and then I have to interrupt shows.
Love it.
Yep.
Danny, what was your first impression of me?
Well, I mean, as previously mentioned, you were always kind of like a peripheral person, because you were either, my friend's younger brother or like friends of other friends' younger siblings or whatever. So I felt like you were always just kind of around. But, in high school, you don't really pay attention to people that are younger than you.
Right.
So, like, I just didn't, And so when we first hung out again, my first thought was, he is such a Rostad. Because like you and your siblings really share that bluntness, which I think is why I always got along with your sister.
Yeah.
Because I really appreciate that in people. But I was just like, it was almost reminiscent for me of like all the times I hung out with your sister, and I tried to be like, okay, they're not the same person. But there's a lot of similarities there, and like similarities of characteristics I appreciate. And then the other kind of thing I had was like, oh shit, he's got his shit together. Like I had a proud moment where it's like, oh, somebody I saw kind of growing up a little bit, like,
right,
he's a producer of podcasts and he does Madison Story Slam, and like, so like that was pretty cool. So those were kind of my two big.
You I don't remember what I was going to say there, but Oh, I had something so good. I'm a little high, everybody. Peripheral. I was a peripheral person. Whatever. That thought is gone. But I found the important one. I remember the important one.
Okay.
How do you think of me now? This is only for Danny. How do you think of me now? That, like, you know, you talked about you didn't really think of kids that were younger than you at a certain point in school, and I totally get that. So I'm forgotten. As we've established, it was 7th grade you that knew.
Yeah.
So what am I now?
Right.
Like, now that you've known me for a year and like we have something outside of that.
I feel like you're cool as shit and you're someone I would hang out with. Like, I feel like you're someone I would label as like my people.
Right. So I remember what I was trying to get at.
Okay.
You thought of me as your friend's younger brother, but do you think
Yes.
I was just a friend?
Yeah.
Right. I had this realization this week because earlier this week maybe, I said something in our group chat, all 4 of us, about all I want for Christmas is something about something going on with a guy that I know. Are we all following what?
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And then Danny responded with information that was like, "Oh, she knows about this." What it made me realize is, oh, Danny's not just my friend from the podcast. Like, I've known Danny my whole life. She's that Danny. I'm calling you Danny now because that's who. Like, when we first started, it was always Danielle.
Right.
So yeah, it made me realize, oh, like, no, Danny's just my friend from the podcast. Like, that's who. But also, hey, like, watch your mouth around her when you're talking.
Because I might know who you're talking about.
So cute.
Yeah. That was fun. Okay, next, I love reminiscing. Actually, it's one of my favorite things to do in my spare time. I don't know. That was like a really awkward thing to say. Okay, what was your favorite podcast moment?
Oh man, so many.
I know there's so many good ones.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Well, 2 things. The first, I would probably say when I said dial up Instagram, I think it was like the 3rd episode. I remember distinctly saying, like, in my head, it made sense.
Oh my
Why are these
gosh.
people understanding me? Like, what is it about my words? And that was the most memorable because it made me like shift. I really need to be conscious of what exactly I say because apparently I don't. So.
And then we make fun of you for a few episodes.
Instagram.
Dial up Instagram.
What
Yeah.
was it? What were you actually trying
Internet. Dial up internet. But somehow my words mingled. And then the other one was, so we did 10 episodes in studio. And then when we hit that 20 episode mark, I think Danny messaged the group and was like, hey, we have now done more episodes outside of the studio at home in our closets than we have in the studio. And I think that was another memorable moment of like, oh shit, like this wasn't what we signed up for, but we're making it work. Like,
I can't believe it was only 10 in the studio.
right?
Yeah,
Didn't
it was
feel like
so
longer?
fast.
Seems like a lot more.
Yeah, it was 10.
Well, I think we actually started, we did a couple, if I'm remembering correctly, we had to do a couple at home because I got so sick with gastritis.
That's right.
I wasn't able to come in the studio because I
Yeah.
was sick.
Yeah.
And then it was like, and then the next week was when they announced the safer at home order.
That's right.
Yeah, I think we stopped in March. I don't think we did any in studio in March.
for sure?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's insane.
That's so weird to me.
right. I know.
Especially because we were recording in batches at that point. We would go into the studio like only every other week and we'd do like 2 or 3 at a time.
Yeah.
Did we do that whole time?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. I don't think we
Think so.
started doing 1 a week until we were at home
Yep.
Yep.
because it just got too difficult to schedule.
Because that
Yeah.
first month, the first 5 we recorded all like before you even launched.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
yeah, maybe once every other week we did 2 episodes.
Yep. Two in one go. Yeah.
We're
That's stamina.
Yeah.
the Wizard of Oz right now.
Do you all remember how nervous you were on the first episode? Do you remember? I think we brought beer, we brought shots.
Oh, and it was like 10 in the morning.
It was 10 in the morning.
That's right.
It wasn't even a nighttime record. It was we brought beer and shots to record at 10 a.m.
Yes.
Because we needed to. Yeah, totally.
And we all had like a notebook with like pre-written script.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. I just remember like sweating.
Yeah.
Could not have been more nervous. And I feel like I even was more nervous after that first record.
I remember you had like a full-on meltdown.
I had like a panic attack afterwards, and I couldn't stop. Remember this? I couldn't stop like just thinking about every single thing I said and how I'm like, that had to be the stupidest thing ever. And like I was like, I can't handle this. I can't do this. This is awful. And that actually continued for a while. But that first one was really bad. I was like, I don't know if I can manage.
Weird.
I stuck it out.
You did. You did.
You
great.
did.
Yeah.
Now.
Do you still get nervous?
I get nervous if I'm the moderator for sure. Like really, like for a few days beforehand, I'm like, I'm gonna mess up.
Which is really funny because I feel like out of the 3 of us, you are the most calm moderator. Like the most cool. Like I feel like Danny and I have our moments, but most of the time you can tell we're like, now what? And I feel like you're the most.
Yeah. I agree. Carrie, I feel like you've always been the best moderator.
That doesn't make sense because internally I'm like, I'm the worst.
Right now, Harry is absolutely the best host.
See? Yeah.
There's that bluntness.
Since day one.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Better equally. I'm not saying you're equal, but I'm saying as much as Carrie has grown, Nicole and Danny have also grown that much, but they definitely weren't at the same height.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So.
That's honestly bizarre to me. But yay for me.
Here's what Carrie, you sound the most, honestly, like the most that you're not nervous. Like
Really? Yeah.
You sound like somebody who's just having a conversation, and why would there be awkward moments? Because it's just a conversation.
And you always know how to follow up questions.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I never know how to do is like you ask a question and then when we answer, you're like, so let me say this follow up question that's so brilliant that it continues the conversation. And I'm like, fuck, where did you come up with that?
Brilliant might be a big word to use.
Like, let's have this conversation quick. Like, this is not about the 50th episode, but Nicole, what are you like in regular conversation then? Because
awkward as fuck.
So if we're talking about something and you wouldn't ask like a follow-up question if you found it interesting?
No, see, I get stressed out if it's okay, hold on. If I am in a one-on-one conversation with somebody, I still to this day shake uncontrollably. I'm that kind of person where if they're talking to me, I'm not thinking about what they're saying. I'm thinking about what's the next question I can say. I don't remember what they just said, but maybe I can talk about the weather now or what their weekend plans were. Like before this one-on-one, I have a list. I go through my head, like what all have they told me in the past? What all can I draw from so that I can spit out questions? So it is brilliant to me.
With people that you would consider like your closest friends, like talking to your husband, like are you like one-on-one talking to him? Are you constantly in fear?
No, but it took years to get to that level. Years. Yes.
Whoa.
Even like my best friend from high school, I remember it took years for me to be 100% calm. And even still, when I see her again, the first half an hour, I get stressed out. And then after that, I'm like, wait. We got this. And I cool down.
Have you considered getting high?
Maybe I should, but I've never gotten high, so I don't know.
That's very, very interesting. And knowing that, you are equally as good as Carrie then.
Yeah.
You with a one-on-one, like...
That's why I drank most of the time.
Wow. So what Adam is saying is I'm the worst.
Sucks, Danny.
What I'm saying is now you tell me about your disability.
Yes. Level.
I don't get anxiety when I'm talking to people in the same way that you do, Nicole. But my brain goes in 5,000 directions at the same time based at like what somebody's telling me. And so I sometimes just have a hard time focusing on which of those things I want to ask about. And sometimes I've made a couple leaps already from what they were saying. And so like my question doesn't make sense because they didn't follow the path that happened. And so then it just comes out as like the strangest question, or I do the worst and most embarrassing thing, especially when it happens at work, where I combine two questions and it just doesn't make any sense at all.
Oh.
Because I'm thinking two things at the same time. And so my brain just squishes them together. Or in person, like, okay, here's a true story of my awkwardness. We were at a party. I think it was Daniel's birthday party in New York, and we were at like a bar in like an event room. And I was talking to his sister, actually the same sister that's here visiting, and I started to do like a random yoga move while we were talking.
Why?
Because I started thinking about it while we were talking because it was something she said.
Okay.
Started doing it and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, it was an exercise move I did this morning.
Oh my God.
I can picture that conversation and be like, you didn't follow that? Like that's where I went. This is obvious.
Right. And so it's like sometimes it's like, I don't know, I think I just do things without or say things without fully thinking about it, and it just is very awkward. Or I think too much about it. I don't know. I can't really answer your question, Adam, but yes, I do have awkward conversations in real life.
Oh.
So this isn't. Listen, I think you're all good hosts. I genuinely do. I would say that there are levels of nervousness that come through. So Carrie, doesn't appear to be that you're nervous at all. And Nicole looks uncomfortable, and Danny looks like and sounds like she's nervous, that she wants to make sure that she is doing the right thing of like, okay, is this question is this question that I've prepared earlier, does that go here? It's just it's interesting. You all have your own quirks. So
Yeah. Which
That's
makes
fun.
us great because we're all in this together.
Yeah. I would say
And-
that's a fair assessment because that's probably exactly what I'm doing.
Me too.
And I think we're all okay with the fact that awkwardness is going to happen. Like, that's what we
feel
do.
like-
It's who we are.
Yeah, I feel like that's been like our branding from the beginning. We
Totally.
are awkward AF.
Yep.
Yes.
and it's also just like you're also self-aware enough to realize that like what we're doing right now is fucking weird. like that people do this, and there are people that make millions of dollars from doing exactly what we're doing.
Yep.
Right.
I think every now and then, even when I've been hosting a podcast, in the middle of it, I'll be like, "What the fuck am I doing? This is."
People are going to listen to our conversation later.
Right?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
People are going to find out about Carrie's Christmas cookies.
You're never gonna live that down, Carrie.
That's
Not to make this more awkward, but like, I cannot stop. This is going to sound really creepy, but just hear me out. I cannot stop imagining
oh God, Danny.
you at Christmas going through your photos, landing on that picture, and just being like, oop.
I know.
Like, I'm not trying to imagine the picture for clarification. I'm imagining your reaction because I feel like it is so funny.
You can't get any more awkward than that, right? Like that's
right. Like that's the ultimate of awkward.
And then everyone has that image in their head the rest of the day. You know?
Do you guys ever, like, when you get in that awkward conversation, you're like, ooh, 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 like you just want to, like, redo?
Oh, God. Did I want to redo that? Yeah.
And I feel like the rest of the time you're near that person, you're like, can I just redo? Can I just, like, let's pretend Men in Black come in here and, like, do a little eye thing.
Yes.
Like, no, it's gone. The end.
Yeah, you're just like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I made this day so uncomfortable.
Yes, I literally do that all the time. Actually, speaking of, I was going to bring this up at some point in a conversation, or even for a topic of a podcast, but whenever I host an event at our house, even our wedding, like whatever event it is, like we hosted a surprise birthday for my mom, right? But being that it's COVID, the only people that were there was like my cousin and her husband and my grandparents. And then obviously my parents, because that's who our little bubble is. And so it's clearly people I'm very close with and people I've known like literally my entire life. And like I woke up at 3:30 the following morning with full on anxiety where Daniel had to talk me down from a panic attack because I was having like Crary, like you did with our first episode, as a post-party anxiety. Aww. Rethinking every single thing I said to every single person. Did they take it wrong? Did it sound okay?
Oh, so you get it.
Yes. And like I get that after events, not before. Usually before I feel totally calm. During I feel totally calm. And then it's like afterwards I get like full on anxiety and I don't know. I know I'm stupid. And people are judging me.
That makes me feel better that other people do what I do.
Yeah. Why did we bring this up? Oh, we were talking about you, Nicole. You asked if we could have a do-over.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, why did we start getting there? I'm looking at my notes and seeing which question inserts next.
Who did you show those Christmas cookie pictures to?
My aunt.
So did you like go downstairs and then she was playing this song?
What is that?
I forget the artist, but it's it's a George Strait song. It's called Christmas Cookies. I sure do like those Christmas cookies.
That's my new theme song.
I think we should share that song on our Facebook.
I think what I can edit together a video of you guys all have pictures of you making Christmas cookies at any point that you can find.
I'll take some tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Doing that, and then I'll put together a little video of that to that.
Nice.
Put it out on Insta.
All right.
Actually,
like that.
You know, it'd be really funny. Maybe too far, but also funny. So in our merch store, I know that we have the ability to design bikinis.
Oh my God.
And I feel like a Christmas cookie bikini would be so funny.
Oh, no.
Okay, that should happen. I don't think anyone will buy that, but...
Or can we just do that, like, large
I will.
shirt that looks like a bikini?
Oh, yes.
But it's, like, cookies? I can do that.
That's hilarious. I love that idea.
I think that's amazing. Yes.
Oh, man.
Well, if I can't get the actual picture, that's the next best thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. That picture, I'm sure, does not exist anymore.
So, oh man. So, okay, I don't think we ever finished answering our favorite moments. We really, there's just so many. But Carrie, do you have a favorite moment?
I will say I felt like there was an episode that it all seemed to click for us. Do you feel like that? I felt like...
Do you know what episode?
Yeah, I felt like the first 3 episodes we were like super floundering and like, well, I don't get it. Like, well, how are we supposed to like end this shit? Like, what?
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I feel like episode 4, we did it and it was smooth, and we all were kind of like, oh my God. Like, I think that actually kind of worked. Like, I remember that kind of all coming together. And not to say that it stayed together for every episode after that, right? Like, some episodes were better than others, but I just feel like in episode 4, we all like had a really good flow, and I was like, okay, I think we can actually do this. After episode 4, I didn't have a panic attack. Let me just put it that way.
Nice.
Yeah.
I do think around episode 4 was also when Adam stopped yelling at us about going closer to the microphone. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, yes. Yep.
The first 3 was like, get closer. Then the whole time I'm like, like,
Yes.
not going closer. I fidgeted so much. I'm like, and then he called me out on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 4 was that sweet spot where
You know what
did
the,
it.
the real difference between the first 3 and the 4th one are?
No.
You had all hosted at that point.
Oh, yeah.
So we were all less nervous.
Experience of what it's like to be hosting a podcast. So on that 4th one, you all just came together and go, oh, so like the host is doing this. So like when I did this and they didn't respond correctly, it fucking drove me nuts. And so yeah, you'd all been through it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Fine.
I also think that because I think we did 3 episodes on our very first time in studio.
Did we really?
Yeah,
Yes.
we did. We hardcore
So I
it.
think our
Oh my God.
4th one, we had a week
Yeah.
to kind of sit with it, think about it.
And listen to it. Adam sent us the links,
Yes.
and we were like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
All valid too. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
hosted, and then you got to hear yourselves back hosting, and you got to decide, okay, I like this, I didn't like that, blah blah blah, and then come back and do it again. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever catch yourself saying phrases like all the time?
What does that mean?
Like,
Yeah.
what's Nicole? What's the one that you say all the time?
Oh, all.
phrase. You know, like if somebody's praying, they might be a Father God person. Like they're all like they say Father
Yeah.
sentence in their prayer. You guys all have certain things that you say, like if you're talking.
We do?
My mom says I say awesome too much as a response to people in the podcast.
What do I say?
Nicole, I'm trying to think of what Nicole says.
Nicole says cute.
Yes,
Oh, I say that way
oh,
fucking much.
cute.
I used to piss off stylists and photographers because when I would be on set doing a photo shoot, every single time I think we nailed a shot, I'd be like, cute, the whole time. And the photographer would just look at me like, are you fucking kidding me?
Love that.
First, when it was a good photographer, it'd be like, yes, it's not good until she's screaming cute from the screen in the back. Like, this is great. I also say, like, know what I mean? Like, I say that a lot. Like, I say
Yeah.
something, and then there's an awkward pause, and I'm like, oh, shit, I said something wrong. I said dial up Instagram again, and then I say, know what I mean?
Good way to cover that awkwardness. Yeah.
Yes, yes. What do you say, Carrie?
Yeah, does Carrie have one?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't remember what yours are. My point was just everybody has something. You know,
Yeah.
It's their phrase. You know.
All right, everybody listen to Carrie and send us
Oh,
yeah,
what
tell
she
us.
says.
Let's not do that.
One of Carrie's go-to responses is, "Oh,
That covers a lot of topic, a lot of stuff. Like, oh.
It does.
over and over again on this show is I'm high."
Yeah.
So true.
Yes, yes.
Do you still get nervous when we interview people?
Interviewing is the worst. I mean, it's great, but like, I am like sick to my stomach when we interview.
Can we just remember when we interviewed the Alder and I called him Elder? Take a minute. And I had no idea I did that.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
That was a tough one though, because the technical difficulties were like out of hand.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Nicole,
And
you handled that
politics
really well.
Yeah.
And-
That was
Yeah.
your shining moment because holy moly.
Harry, you just revealed a bit because I don't think we ever talked about how that episode with the alder person was full of technical difficulties because we worked some fancy footwork around in the
You did.
Yeah, Adam did.
Yes. Adam spent hours on that episode.
because you guys handled those technical difficulties with grace and aplomb. So you guys were thinking about, okay, here's what I mean. You guys are full-fledged podcasters because when you're podcasting, you're not just thinking about what you're saying, but you're thinking about what your editor has to do to make sure what you're saying comes across. You're editing you're not like editing what you say in the sense that you would say that to like a kid, like, hey, make sure you edit what you say around blah, 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 blah. But you're editing what you say before you even know what you're going to say. It's like you've gone to the future going, okay, how would this work? And I've got to cut it and yada, yada, yada. So that as an editor, that is really nice.
Thank you. And I do have to say, I feel like we've gotten better at going with the flow. Like if something doesn't come out right, or we ask the question wrong, or two questions get merged together in my head and I say both at the same time, I think we've gotten a lot better at being like, okay, we're just going to keep going with that. We're going to laugh about it and then move on or whatever. Whereas before we'd be like, all right, stop. Let's start over. Let's re-ask that question.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and what I would say, so every client I've ever had and people that I've met with who decided not to go with me to do this, I always say it's just a conversation. Think about it exactly as what it is, which is you talking to another person. It's just talking. It's just having a conversation. And the reason I try and, like drive that into people's brains with this is because they go into it thinking of it as this like super official thing. Oh, I've got this microphone. I've got yada, yada, yada. I think it's the headphones personally. Your voice through a microphone as you're speaking. It does feel a certain way. It feels cool. It's like, oh wow, like this is like an official thing. And it's like, yeah, it's officially something that you're doing, but it's also no different than you talking to your friends. That's all it is. So,
That's true. It's not that simple though.
yeah, it is.
When you factor in the introduction and then the wrapping it up at the end and then the taking the break, I'm sorry, that's stuff you got to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's add up the seconds that those intros and the break and the outros take. You're looking at 0.5% of what the podcast has been, right?
But they're really hard.
You've gotten great at them.
Thank you.
I think it's also true that like you said, Danny, we have gone with the flow. We are more or less like on brand. We may fuck up and that's okay. Like,
And
that's
by
okay.
we may.
Like we will.
We will.
We will.
And that just happens.
Yeah.
Yep. I hear it. And that's what makes us more relatable.
Thank you for. I know you did that on purpose, right? To like prove the point.
Yes.
Is that it'd be one thing if you guys were producing a podcast or you were putting together a podcast that was supposed to be like a serialized story of like this and then the next, but that's not this podcast. So in that podcast, yeah, you do want to go, okay, cut, we did that wrong. Let's ball it. It's a more or less a film when you do that. And what you guys are doing, I mean, literally you are a conversation podcast. That's what it is. So it really, that's all this is. It's a conversation.
So, what do you think the hardest part has been this whole year? Do you think it's been learning how to podcast, or, I mean, I know that we could probably fill in a lot of answers to that.
So can I do two answers? One answer was I thought prior to doing podcasting, I thought the main issue we would have is finding topics to cover. I don't think that's an issue. Like we just talked randomly the other day and we came up with like 15 more topics. But I feel like now being in it, one of the main issues is timing, where four human adults with children and with jobs and with social lives trying to schedule at least an hour to talk, to get all on the same page has been difficult, in my opinion.
Yeah, especially too because I think, not being in studio, one thing we also have to consider is background noise. And I'm sure listeners hear our background noise anyway, as much as we try to not have it happen. But considering, our limitations at the moment, like there's just like I live in a ranch house, right? So there's only one level. So there's only so many places in my house I can go.
Right.
And I'm as far away from everybody in my house right now as I could be without being outside. And like, it's still loud, because kids, dogs, people.
Life.
Smoke alarms when your family's making pizza.
Smoke alarms.
Just glad that happened before we started recording today.
Right.
Yeah, that is really hard. For me, it's still, and it always will be, just fighting through that I'm nervous. It's just who I am. It's what I do. I don't have panic attacks afterward anymore, unless I say something exceptionally dumb. But every time I'm hosting, it's like fear for days.
Yeah. Yep.
Because that's just how I operate. So
Nope. Pulling an Adam. I have no idea what I was going to say. It was a question and I forgot it. So that's fun.
Okay, so that was the hardest parts. What has been the most rewarding parts of this last year of podcasting? And Nicole, feel free to interject if you remembered your statement.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Okay.
anytime that there's like someone we don't know that is suddenly we realize listening, like when we have reviews and we're like, who is this? No, none of us, we don't know. We're like, and they gave us a great review and we're like, oh my God. Okay. Like that's,
every time there is a review or we get an email or a new patron, we all go into super sleuth mode being like, all right, is this someone that's related to somebody we know?
Are they obligated to give us nice things to say?
And I remember the very first person who bought merch for us. It was a logo Raglan t-shirt.
oh,
And it went to Ohio. And I remember like seeing the order come through and I was like, Ohio? Like, we don't know anybody in Ohio. So I like went on our website and I was like, oh, we don't know this person. And then I was like, Carrie, Nicole, do you know this person? They're like, no. And I think we all had a moment where we're like, oh my gosh, somebody's wearing our t-shirt in Ohio.
yeah. We've had a few of those moments. It's crazy to me. Or like in the beginning where we're like, our podcast was downloaded in the Philippines or what, like there was like some random country. We're like, what?
Yeah. Where is that from?
Yeah.
Have you guys noticed? So what is the first responses when you tell somebody, hey, yeah, I do a podcast. It's called Women AF Podcast. What has been their reaction to it?
They think it's real cool.
Oh,
Do they?
Yeah.
I get a different reaction.
Really?
What do you get?
I've literally gotten, everyone has a podcast these days.
That's rude.
I've gotten that
okay.
sometimes too. I've gotten it where some people are like, yeah, bring on the man bashing. I'm like, that's not what
Wow.
we do though.
I can understand why that.
But do you think we do that, or is that purely just like Women AF, that name?
No, I don't think you guys do that at all. So it's weird for me because I enjoy the show just as a person and somebody who helps create it. But then I have to keep in check what I'm saying. I'm not saying this because I'm a man, but as a fan of the show, I often find myself wanting you guys to also try to look at it from a man's perspective, whatever you're talking about. Because I like I like the conflict of what disagreement does. It adds that good conversations come from disagreement or tension.
Maybe we need to have some more man guests on.
I'm not even saying that. I'm not saying bring more.
Yeah.
I'm saying it would be interesting to hear what, or maybe you talk about what a man's perspective is, what you think it is. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that'd be good because I think I hear what you're saying because I think it's important to try to talk through your own filters and perceptions of how you think somebody else is thinking or feeling or reacting. So we could talk about specific, as we're talking about specific stories, we could be like, I think the reason that person did this thing was because whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're a dick.
Well, I think it's a good thing to do. I don't mean like every time, but occasionally on the show, because then I think it engages everybody more. Because the women listening can probably understand and agree with your perspective as a woman. And the men are listening because they're like, oh, I get to know about what women think and yada, yada. So it's engaging for everybody to hear what you would have to say. What do those men out there think about this?
This is true.
And speaking of learning the inner workings of women and our secret inner
Playbook.
thoughts and our
Yeah.
playbook, we'll share the playbook on Patreon.
Sure.
I don't think we're supposed to do that.
Oh, for the
against-
highest tier. Highest tier.
All right. Okay.
Highest tier, you get Gary's cookies and the female playbook.
That sounds like a videotape I saw once. Carrie's cookie. Take it.
A future episode title.
Yeah.
About pornography.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we were going to talk about porn at one point. I remember we had a conversation about it.
First episode.
What?
You should have done it at the first episode. Have it be about like the most uncomfortable thing. That way, it's like, hey, anything after this.
Oh, yeah.
Fine. Yes.
I want to go back and listen to our first episode because I
Yeah.
don't think I fully remember.
We should all do that.
We should.
I'm not saying yours specifically. As a podcaster, going back and listening to your first episode is horrible.
Yeah.
I'm nervous.
Really?
I'm anticipating that it's going to.
Doing this again.
But what's fun is like when I see people, like you can see the trends in the episodes of like who's listening and stuff, and you can see that somebody goes all out. Like they find us, they listen to the most recent, and then they like go down the charts of like episode 11, episode, just keeps on going down. And it's interesting to see like sometimes they stop at like episode 5 and like, oh, I'm done. It kind of makes sense.
What? But episode 4. That was the moment.
That was it.
If you're listening to episode 50 as your first one, our suggestion is to not go back to 1.
Go back to 4.
Yeah,
Start there.
There you go.
About what I said, I meant besides your podcast. Your first episode is great. People should go back and look.
Oh, yes.
okay.
Yeah,
Of course.
No, don't do it.
I bet if
But seriously.
from the beginning, I bet that we could all pinpoint the episode, the exact moment in that episode that Nicole's opinion of me changed.
Well,
That's an interesting scavenger hunt for the listeners.
Yes, yes.
Fun.
It would be really interesting. So now that we're doing these videos for Patreon, we started doing videos a couple months ago.
Yeah.
It was maybe a little past halfway. I would be interested. I mean, there's a bunch of them we don't have videos of, but it would be so interesting to watch old videos of like our face expressions and how we reacted to stuff. Because to Adam's point, I bet there's a few times that Nicole was mean mugging Adam
For sure.
in the episode.
Yeah.
Oh man, you too. I love it.
Yes.
One of my old shows, the show. So when we first started doing this, I was still hosting podcasts. I technically still am a host of a podcast. I haven't put out an episode since February. But I was still hosting the whiskey podcast when we first started.
That's right.
I was still someone who drank alcohol, and we were coming up on like our 1-year episode, and we had a fan who, unbeknownst to us, had the entire time kept an Excel spreadsheet of times that I did this and times that my co-host did that, and said this or said that, and then would also kept a with the Excel sheet just like his top favorite funny things that happened. And
Oh my gosh.
he sent it to us a week before we recorded our 1-year episode, and we were like, this is incredible. It was so good. And then that guy, when I left, he joined as the co-host.
Oh, fun.
That is so great. If there are any listeners that have spreadsheets of our show, let us know.
Only if it's a good spreadsheet.
Yeah.
They were in the Mortar Box Media family for a long time, and they aren't any longer, but we should plug them. It's Chill Filtered. If you like whiskey, go listen there. They're good guys. I'm actually in January going to be coming back as a third host for one episode, because after January 1st I can drink again. So
Nice.
Yes.
That'll be fun.
That will be fun.
The drinking and the hosting. Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of plugging, we should also plug our stuff. That was not a sexual joke.
Adam lost it. Oh.
So let's plug. Our Facebook page is Women AF Podcast. We're also on Instagram or dial-up Instagram and Twitter at Women AF Podcast. Our Patreon, as I've mentioned like 4 times in this show, is patreon.com/Women AF Podcast. We post the video of the episodes there. You get swag, discounts, cool things. And Carrie's making a face at me. Okay.
No, I'm making a face at Nicole. Continue.
Oh, got it. And we'd love to hear your feedback on our 50 episodes. What was your favorite moment? What are things that we say too much? Are there topics you want us to talk about? Opinions that you want to hear us talk about? Let us know. You can reach us at womenafpodcast@gmail.com. We are Women AF, and we know you are too.
Women AF is produced by Mortarbox Media and engineered by Adam Rostad. Intro and outro music is SQZ by Shane Ivers. Check him out at silvermansound.com. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review.